What is your oh shit, I've got to get the hell out of here right now story? I was in Thailand back in 2010 on the southern islands after a full moon party. My friend and I were talking to two girls who invited us to play poker. We went and sat down with two German guys and two burly Thai guys full of tattoos and began to play. They were joking, friendly, and the buy-in was $10. We lost some pots, won some pots, and overall it was a happy experience. The Thai guys beat us, and on the last hand I managed to claw my chips back to about $8. My friend was looking tired, so I gave him the nod. I thanked for the game, and I said we would cash out, and we would be on our way. The Thai guys put a machete on the table, and told us to fuck off. My friend, myself and the two German guys noped out of that situation as fast as we could. On the way back the girls caught up with us and apologized, but it meant fuck all, because they were clearly in on the take. Lesson learned, if pretty girls ask you to play a game, it's for nefarious reasons. I was leaving for work at 5:30 am, while it was still dark. I locked the inside door handle, and walked out the door pulling the door close behind me. As I turned around to walk off the porch toward my car, I saw 4 men jump out of a van and start coming toward me. The street was otherwise empty. My heart was pounding, and I felt panic start as I was digging in my big messy purse for my keys to unlock the door and get back in my house. The whole time, I'm just thinking they are going to grab me, shove me in the van, and rape/kill me. I was able to get back in my house before they made it to me, but it scared the shit out of me. Turns out they were immigrations officers looking for someone who used to live in a house, and that is standard practice for them if they think the suspect will run. When I was 17 I met with a 23-year-old guy for a mall date. Can't remember his name for the life of me. I had just gotten out of a horrible relationship and was trying to distract myself. We had dinner, and when the waiter brought the check, the guy told me he had forgotten his wallet in his car and that, if I went with him, he could grab it. I told him it was fine, and paid for the meal myself. We went into a couple shops, but he kept asking me questions about my ex-boyfriend. Also he mentioned that he had been in jail, but wouldn't tell me what for, and I was nervous. Then things came to a head when he kept saying, "Hey, just come to my car for a second please, let's listen to music," and kept getting increasingly anxious every time I declined. I was so scared. I immediately pretended to have a period emergency so I could get out of there, and luckily I had parked in a different lot than he did. I still have no idea what his intentions were, but man, that was terrifying. A 500-pound hog got loose at the state fair and started charging right at me. I've never run so fast in my life. As a young teenager, maybe 13y/0, I was camping in the backcountry during a summer camp in the Midwest US. Second to last night of the trip we started seeing mammothous clouds and the sky turned green, but no immediate rain or hail. Being the good Midwestern kids we were, we knew the signs and found a semi-solid shelter before the storm hit. When we got out of the backcountry we found out that 3 major tornadoes had touched down and gotten as close as 1/2 kilometer to our original campsite. I was driving north on I-65 in the middle of Indiana. The sky was getting dark, the wind was picking up, it started hailing. I turned on the radio to hear that a tornado was nearby. I determined it was behind me going from southwest into any and about to cross over the interstate. Other cars were driving slow or pulling over because of the rain and hail. I was hauling ass to get away from there. My ex-husband came into our bedroom where I was sleeping and screamed into my ear, "You and your mom need to stop playing mind games with me." Understand, I didn't speak to him much to not set him off. He hadn't spoke to my mom in 3 months. Without looking at him, I walked downstairs in the dark to sleep on the couch. As I was laying down, a big ceramic lamp flew by my head and smashed against the wall. He followed me downstairs, and I didn't hear him because the dogs came with me and their collars jingled loud enough I couldn't hear him. He'd been abusive, but after throwing a heavy lamp at my head in the dark I knew he'd kill me. I couldn't leave that night because he took my keys, but I ran away to a safe house as soon as he left the house. I was on a restaurant and they were using a propane tank to power an outdoors heater. Suddenly the tank started to catch fire and I got out quickly because I thought it was going to explode. The staff turned the tank off and everyone laughed at me for overreacting, but damn I got scared lol. Bad diesel fire at work. I saw the fireball billowing toward me, so I jumped in a pit. The fireball blew over me, and when it retreated, I got the hell out of Dodge. I got some gnarly 3rd degree burns, but I survived. I was solo camping in the woods during a phase where I wanted to be a survival expert. I hiked out, miles from any roads or building, built a shelter, and then hiked back the way I came. Less than a mile away from my camp, I found a dead coyote, decapitated, gutted, and laid out like a sacrifice or something. The eyes were gouged out, and it was strung across a big flat rock. A rock which I used as a marker on the way in, so I know it hadn't been there a day before. I ran out of there as fast as I could, knife at the ready, probably 10 miles back to my house. I still have no idea who would have done it, but I know I didn't want to run into them in the woods alone. After I graduated from college, I finally landed an interview with a guy who was starting his own company. The economy was shitty, and I so wanted a job. I went in for an interview and quickly noticed that he double locked the door behind me. It was a small office in a strip mall. I immediately started to panic and then realized that no one else was there. He had me sit down and took questions into the interview. He tried to put his hand up my skirt. I was wearing a business skirt suit. I got up and ran and thankfully was able to open the locks and get the hell out of there. My mom accompanied me to every interview after that for a while. I worked for an agency that helps people do their daily tasks for home healthcare. I had a man whose insurance prohibited personal care, like a shower. He was very upset during my visit when I declined his request for bathing. I felt bad at first, but soon the man became very angry with me. He accused me of all kinds of things and started pacing around room to room like he was looking for something. Between that and his spit/yelling rage, I slipped out of the house and drove to a safer place. I reported the incident to my employer and later found out that this person is a sex offender who had previously raped another woman. Who knows what he was planning that day? Maybe nothing, but I'm glad I left. My friend and I met at Waffle House for lunch. A guy came into the restaurant looking for a piece of paper that he had accidentally left on a table. The waitress didn't know where the paper was located and might have thrown it away. The guy got upset, saying the paper was important and he was going home to get his gun stored under his mattress. My friend and I quickly paid our check and got the heck out of the restaurant. I lived in South Everett for a couple years. Was walking home from the bus stop to my apartment, which took me behind the Home Depot. Suddenly a van starts following me. I hear the side door slide open and look behind me to see a man with the top half of his body hanging out the slider door looking at me. I took off running towards my apartment, literally running as far as I could. The van started going faster. By chance a guy was pulling out of the driveway of my apartment complex, sees me running for my life, and stops. The van immediately turns around and speeds off. Guy asks if I'm okay. I ask him to just stay there and please watch me walk into my apartment, which was the building next to his. He did, thank God. I started carrying mace and a very large knife the next day. My husband and I were heading out of town. We saw a guy on the side of the highway pacing under the overpass. I asked my husband to take the exit and go over the overpass and take the next exit to continue on the highway. The second we took the exit, the guy jumped in front of a semi and killed himself. He was a freshman in college. The semi driver was 72 years old and 3 weeks away from retiring. I cannot imagine what the driver's going through. Some dude in my uni class. Trying not to sound non-inclusive here, but he was a special case. Kept talking about his fucked up life. Some things he done that made people fear him because he was unpredictable. Brought a knife into class. Placed it casually on the desk. One of those big fuck off Rambo ones. A girl in class was one of those mouthy types. Talked about him and he responded by getting her in a choke hold and threatened her. smashed a pint glass over his head for no apparent reason other than to show that he could. Ended up in hospital. Everyone stayed the fuck away from him, but only added to his paranoia. Everyone graduated and I stayed in that city for a bit. Bumped into him by accident in my gym. He told me I was one of the few who he didn't want to stab, kept myself out of others' business, but he took it as a sign of friendship and wanted to follow me back to my apartment to hang out. Told him I was going to work after gym. Never went back to that gym ever again. When I was in high school, early 80s, I saw a lot of heavy metal bands. I had a friend who could always get us backstage after the show. Suanville played, and we went backstage. All of a sudden the lead singer said, "Okay, all the girls take off your clothes or get out." I got out. The rest of the girls stayed. Thanks for watching, and share your stories. Don't forget to consider the idea to maybe think about potentially subscribing. Peace.